welcome back to another episode of Shift Happens. And this is the fourth in a series of me talking to a bunch of leaders who have participated in one of SoulTrain's leadership growth experience. I am joined today by an old friend of mine, Nick Brown. Nick, who are you? What do you do? And how do you know SoulTrain?
Okay, good morning, Dan. Thank you ever so much for having me here. So I'm Nick Brown, as Dan said. I'm the EVP of Operations here at Green Worldwide. Maybe to give you a bit of insight, who are Green Worldwide? We're basically an old school freight forwarder with a modern twist and a passion for taking care of customers. I oversee our 13 offices here in the USA to meet operational goals and objectives. My time is mainly spent on shaping and enforcing our organizational policies, our standards, our budgets, and obviously I do that in concert with the executive team over here at Green Worldwide. I think the second question, how do I know SoulTrain? That actually goes back quite a long way. Myself and Dan actually met back in high school, I guess. So I won't divulge how many years it is because that would give away how old we are. When I joined Green Worldwide, Dan reached back out again from a professional standpoint. And we started to explore what SoulTrain were doing. We talked about what Green Worldwide were doing. Dan put together what I called a taster, with a listen then lead program, to see whether that would fit.
Yeah. I remember reaching out to you and like, oh yeah, we'll do a taster. And I was like, well, I don't know what that means, but great, let's do a taster. and as you said, that taster ended up being this 2 half-day workshops called Listen Then Lead. And you were a participant in that. And so I'd really like to hear from you. And I know the people tuning in, like someone who is an EVP comes along, very experienced in their career, holds a senior position, comes along to this event that I have entitled Listen Then Lead. I wonder what learnings or insights you walked away with from that program.
So I think for me, during the sessions, it helped guide us on the journey we're under as a company and where we want to go, and how as leaders we can continue to grow and bring our teams on the journey with us. I think we talked a lot about followers and building that. And I think from a branch management perspective, or even from a leadership perspective, you have to have followers. Mm-hmm. Yeah? If your team don't believe in the vision or the journey or where you're going, then that's going to make this exceptionally difficult. I think the transition model really resonated with us. I think that was one of the models that we went through. And one of the big sayings, and you actually said it in the training, and you probably didn't notice this, but the executive team all smiled, was what got us here won't get us there. So as we go through our journey, we realize that, we've built something, but obviously it's constantly evolving. And what we need to do is constantly change that. And I think a big part of that now is learning and development. So there's actually quite a few people from our own organization, that felt very comfortable with you and started to open up. And you challenged them, they challenged you. And I really like that back and forward. It wasn't just a push down training. Right. It was a very push pull. So it was very enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that's really important to SoulTrain is the idea of partnership. We don't come in as the font of all knowledge and all experience of how to be the best leader in the world, because last year there were thousands, 3,500 roughly books published on how to be a leader. All of them having their own perspective. And so what do you take from that? Well, there isn't one way to be a leader. There's just your way. And I think that's really what was happening through Listen Then Lead. Is like, how do you be yourself, but be yourself with increasing amounts of skill and choice, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And again, I think like I talked about earlier in terms of like culture, I mean, fun and passion are words that we like to use in this organization. And I think when we did the learning and development with you, A, there's a hell of a lot of passion as well as knowledge from your side. And B, there was some fun. Yeah, and I think that was the nice part, that when I got the feedback from my leadership team and from the, the people that I work with, that's what they enjoyed about that. And I think that fits into our culture, and people trusted you. I think that's a really strong word, trust. I think honesty, integrity, they're all part of the Green Worldwide culture, and that's really what we're looking for when we look for partners. Wow. And we partnered with you, and I think that really fitted well.
Thanks, Nick.
No problem.
I didn't know all of that. I mean, I knew that it had gone well because you invited me back to do more work, but I hadn't had that specific feedback, and it's really, really great. Really great to hear. For you specifically, I wonder, I'm curious if you're open to sharing, the learnings and insights that you took from Listen Then Lead. How has that changed how you show up as a leader?
I think obviously as you're constantly growing as a leader, and you're constantly learning as a leader. Every day is a school day, as I like to say. So I think some of when I thought about this, and when I think about this question that you asked, I think being transparent and consistent about our core principles and values, being genuine, like I mentioned earlier, you talked a lot about empathy and vulnerability. And again, I think for me, being genuine is a big part of being a leader. Having a clear purpose, I mean, that's very important. Know yourself. And one of the things I've learned as a leader, and I think I learned out of your learning and development even more, is learn, what you're not good at. Because some things I'm not good at as a leader, but I need to realize what they are. And I'll be honest, I think I've learned as I've grown in my career, and maybe a little in age and maturity as well, is that obviously to focus on my strengths. That's what I'm good at, that's what I'm going to excel at, and that's where I'm really going to get myself to. My weaknesses, I can probably get to a certain level, but I'm never going to excel at those weaknesses because they're not in me. So what I want to do is then build that team around me that can support those weaknesses. And I think as a leader, if you can do that, and I think a lot of that I got out of that, and the learning and development we did, is knowing yourself, empowering people, trusting people, and then as a team, growing as a whole, rather than trying to be an individual that knows everything and wants to grow it individually.
Beautiful.
Build effective and respectful teams, I guess, is what I was looking for.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Nick. You're reminding me of the words of a very seasoned, wise leadership consultant called Dr. Meredith Belbin, and he once said that nobody's perfect, but a team can be. And so that idea around knowing who I am and all of my ups and my downs, my foibles and my brilliance, and then building people not in the image of me, but who are different to me, so that together we create something that is greater than a sum of individuals,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very, very, very true. Yeah, and it almost takes a kind of an aha moment, as I sometimes call it, to say, aha, I actually realized that, and now I realize it and I play to it. Things actually get better rather than trying to fight it. Because you think you know it all and you don't.
Beautiful. You touched on some of the stuff that we talked about around, leadership has got nothing to do with your pay grade. It's, it's only defined by when you look around, you have followers. And so I also really talk a lot about in my work, how leadership is a behavior, not a title. Like, leadership is a verb, it isn't a noun. And I wonder how you experienced that principle coming to life in our work together.
I think I always aspired to get to kind of a C-level suite, and I always had this notion that once you're at the top, life got easier. And what yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I aspired to grow within the organization, thinking as I got higher and higher, things would get easier. And obviously it's completely the opposite.
Right.
It's the leadership and the executive team, or whoever it is, the branch managers or whoever, that are guiding and leading and listening and developing and training. And I think with learning and development, that just helps cement that. And I think sometimes it regrounds you and it brings you back to where you need to be brought back to.
So what I'm hearing you say, Nick, is that leadership isn't a one and done. You can't just send out a message and expect everyone to understand it, follow the direction. It's a process.
Constant. If only it was that easy. If it was that easy, Dan, everybody would do it. There'd be no training, learning, and development ever required. No, it's constant. It's a constant follow-up. It's a constant relaying the message. It's a constant conversation. It's a constant bringing everybody together. It's a constant getting everybody on the same page, and it's a constant moving everybody in the same direction.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's like herding cats, as somebody told me the other day.
Yeah. Herding cats, or a very British phrase, knitting fog, which I really
I don't think I've ever. Yeah, that's actually a better one than herding cats. I'm going to steal that one from you.
Well, I can't take credit. Well, look, Nick, thanks for the conversation, and also thank you for the recommendations. I didn't know that they were going to come.
Sorry.
I think to close, if you had a message out there to any organizations, perhaps in your sector, the Green Worldwide sector, or any sector, about the importance of offering leadership development to their employees, what would you say to them?
So what a saying I have is, no one comes to work to do a bad job. And what I mean by that, nobody deliberately gets up every morning, turns up at the office to deliberately do a bad job. I look at it and say they're either in the wrong job, or they need some learning and development or training. And that's something that I really strongly believe in. So I'm coming back to your question around leadership development, and for that matter, I mean learning and development in general. I'd actually say it's the top of my list. So, and I think in order to create skilled and empowered leaders, you need learning and development. You need somebody else that's out there. You mentioned the amount of books. I don't remember how many books you said, but you're absolutely right. There's a lot of books out there, and I've read some of the books, and some say this, some say that. And I think you've also got to find your own style of leadership. Yeah, but I think sometimes it's nice to have somebody that can help you, that can guide you, can challenge you, can give you some ideas. So like I say, I think learning and development's the top of my list when it comes to creating skilled and empowered leaders. I also think it really helps companies retain talent. Yeah, I mean, I think if you offer leadership development, learning and development, basically when you invest in people, they'll invest in you. Yeah. And again, not wanting to give you a plug, I mean, I think our experience of working with you at SoulTrain so far has been exceptional. Yeah, and I think the feedback that we're getting from the leadership team is about, it's challenged them, it's made them think about some different things. I think they're starting to challenge their people. They're starting to realize where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. And it's made them all round better leaders.
Wow. Thanks, Nick. Well, and thank you for spending the time with me today. SoulTrained is all about partnership. And when I think about how long we've known each other, and, at high school, did we ever imagine that we would be sitting here? But I really, really value the belief that you have placed in SoulTrained, and I'll never take that for granted. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work with Green Worldwide, and particularly your branch managers are a brilliant bunch of people that I look forward to spending time with. Each time I see it on my calendar, my heart skips a little beat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And from our side, thank you for all you've done so far. I think, like you mentioned, in our business, relationship is a huge part of our business. And that's not only with our customers, our vendors, that's with everybody. So hopefully this is a much longer journey, and there's lots more to come.
Awesome.
From Green Worldwide and SoulTrain. So thank you, Dan. Thank you for your time.